Hello everyone and welcome to the Atelier Nekozuki podcast. This is episode 74 and today is Wednesday, May 1st, 2019. I'd like to say hello to any new viewers and any returning viewers. Thanks so much for joining me. Today is going to be a fairly short episode because I have been really busy actually in product development. I'm not quite ready to show it again. All these secret projects, I'm sorry guys, but I'm very nearly there, so I will hopefully, yes, I should have them ready for next week. I'm just thinking about the schedule for the next few days. Dallas is home this week, so my schedule is always different when he's home. The whole point of me working from home at this point with a creative job like this is so that I can actually spend time with him when he's home. So I don't do a lot of work when he's home. Today is an exception because he's actually out for lunch with a friend, but then tomorrow and Friday are both really busy and his birthday is on Monday, so I probably won't be doing a lot of work till Tuesday, but next week I don't foresee there being anything meaning that I need to actually record early, so I should be able to show you the products on Thursday. All of that to say that this is going to be a very condensed podcast because I didn't actually get a lot more done on anything except for the socks, the blanket. I think I crocheted 2 more or maybe even just 1 more of the rounds, because once I was done working for the day, I didn't really feel like knitting. I ended up apparently we're just gonna do the chatter part right now, or at least a bit of it, but yeah, I ended up playing Birth by Sleep instead so that I had something different and so that it changed the position of my hands and stuff like that, because I do find that sewing and then going in and also knitting can really irritate my shoulder. Knitting is usually the worst part of that, but the consecutive activities definitely affect it. So anyway, yeah, literally pretty much all I got knit on was the socks. I did actually get quite a bit of progress on them though. I'm quite happy. I think that's probably about, I'm gonna say that's 3 inches. This is 7. So I'd say 3.5 inches. So that's quite good considering that I'm just going around and around and around and around. Here's the size of my balls now. They are shrinking. Which is good. They should be. And then what ends up happening is I do have the eraser and pencil topper as well to go on top of the actual pencil. This will go through to a red stripe at the top. So I would say, I don't know, I've got a couple more weeks worth of work on these, simply because I've still got to finish the tubes and then I've got to knit the heels. And I did look at how long they were on Dallas last night, and they're about half of the length of what I usually do the cuff. I just did a quick judgment. If you don't know this, you can usually judge actually how long measure from the base of the palm up to the fingertips, especially if you don't want to tell someone you're knitting them socks. It's a good guesstimate generally, because what you can do is then put your sock at the end of the palm, and then that is generally the length of your foot. It's the base of your palm to your end of your fingertips. So for Dallas, so for me, I would actually probably, let me just fuss around with this on camera. Yeah, I should okay, so if these were my socks, I would totally have already been in the, that top bit, the ribbing. Apparently I'm losing nouns today. But, because then what ends up happening is you add the heel, because I'm going to be doing an afterthought heel on these socks, and that adds the length that it would be, because this length in here is the length from your toes to where you actually need to knit the heel. Now obviously if your gauge is very off for socks, that's not going to work, but I've found that generally it at least gives me a pretty decent idea of where I need to put stuff, i.e. heels. So Dallas's was probably about there last night. So I'm about halfway through the cuff-ish. The plan with these was originally just to continue knitting until I finished the yarn. because I do have extra yarn from my pair of these so that I could just do the heels out of it. I don't actually know if I'm going to do that because that's still a lot of knitting. I might just end up doing so that I get here and then I switch to the topper. But of course that also depends on how much further this actually gets me. That might actually be that whole amount of yarn. I don't know. This is not very scientific endeavor for me. I just kind of knit and I have a good idea, but not a solid idea of where I'm supposed to do these things. So, you know, it's knitting. I can always pick it out, or in the case of the socks that I knit for our anniversary, I can always like cut the toe off and then Kitchener it back on because, you know, that's the easiest way to do these things. Anyway, this yarn is Yarn Enabler stationery set. Yarn Enabler is a self-striper, she's a self-striping dyer out of Ontario, so it's Canadian dyed as well. I'm knitting them on Chiagu US 1 2.25 millimeter needles, and because I'm sitting down and it's cold, Remy has come to visit, so you know. And that is being held in one of my knot bags right now. This bag definitely needs a wash here soon, but I've had it for almost a year, so that's pretty impressive. Yes, I love you too. Yeah, so, and this is going to be a matching pair with mine because I'm dorky and I want matching couple socks. So we both will have a pair of stationery socks. And Dallas really likes hand knit socks. It is his favorite knit item. So that's always good. Sorry, Remy's got an intense interest in the camera right now. He's also so soft still. He's lost most of his winter coat, but he's so like fluffy still. It's awesome. You can come back and cuddle. Yeah. He really doesn't like being held because he claws my sweater, but he does love to cuddle. So let's see if he'll stay for a couple minutes. Let's see. So I think I mentioned last week that I had planted my sweet peas, or I was going to plant my sweet peas. I planted my sweet peas because I was getting conflicting information. And so I wanted to try it because the packets say don't plant until after the danger of frost is passed. And then the internet said to plant when you could plant as soon as the ground could be worked. So I'd worked the ground because I went along the swale and I pulled all the weeds and the grass and stuff like that, turned the dirt over a bit and added chips. So I was like, okay. And I waited another week after that actually to even do it because I was like, okay, I can like at least give them that much time, because realistically, safe plant date in the Calgary area is just before Canadian May Long, about Memorial Day weekend, because Memorial Day weekend is the weekend before Victoria Day weekend for my US viewers. And for everyone else who doesn't celebrate either of those, third weekend in May is usually safe plant date. Now you want to have all your plants before that because the greenhouses and anywhere that actually sells plants is absolutely insane on May Long, because that is kind of our transition into like good weather. So everyone's out to get all their like outdoor patio furniture or like outdoor things in general. So yeah, so I planted my sweet peas, and then last Saturday we got like 6 inches of heavy spring snow. And so, okay, that's not actually that big a deal. It's good for the ground. We really need it, and I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. But the thing is that it's also stayed cold. So I'm pretty sure my sweet peas are not going to make it. Realistically, not a big loss. I was over ambitious in my starting of them, and I knew this. So I'm totally prepared to just replant, and I think that's probably what will end up happening. As for the other ones, my cosmos are doing but my moonflowers and my morning glories are doing fantastic, as are the snaps and the heliotrope and the catnip are all doing really well, so I'm happy with that. All the ones except for the moonflowers and morning glories, the moonflowers and morning glories will go back with sweet peas along the fence, and then the other ones that I listed off, like the cosmos and such, are going to actually be container plants. I'm trying to do a little bit more like bee-friendly gardening. I don't know if we have very many bees in this area, but I would love to like at least give them an area where they could benefit from it if they are. And then what else? Oh, and then I've actually got dahlias as well, but I know for sure I have to wait. They're bulbs, so I have to wait until the like final frost completely dissipates before I can actually plant them. I am going to excuse me, I have a peony bed, which isn't doing that well. The peonies aren't that strong. I don't know if it's sun or like drainage or what, but generally the town of Cochrane does or at least they did last year, they gave out buckets of like compost. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig the peonies up and then turn a bunch of compost into the bed itself so that it enriches it a bit, because I'm pretty sure peonies do better in rich, well-drained soil. So the compost will also help it drain. And then I'm going to plant the dahlias with them as well. I think I got to check like their spread, but I think I probably can do some dahlias behind and then some dahlias in front and then peonies kind of in the middle. I think that'll look really good. They all have kind of the same demand for water and sun. The other nice thing is if the dahlias are fairly drought resistant. So yeah, they've got pretty much the same water requirements, but they'll help also keep the peonies a bit drier so that I don't get problems there, hopefully. I know for sure I planted 3 when we moved. No, I planted 3 2 years ago. And for sure 2 of them have survived. I think the 3rd is dead, so I'm going to probably have to replace it anyway. So I'll make an assessment of that when I'm pulling them up and stuff like that too. This isn't, I don't know, again, it's not something that I'm super versed in, but I'm trying. I really want peonies. I really like dahlias for being cut and everything like that. I'm excited about the container gardens as well, because I have done like containers before, but I don't care for them very well. It can be hard in the summertime because summertime is such a big show push. And like TNA is right in the middle of June and going down there, so I'll just have to make sure that I give them a good water before I leave, and that my mother-in-law knows for sure, or whoever's house sitting for us knows to like dash them a little bit while I'm gone. So I did actually go through and fertilize my house plants, and they are much happier. And I just noticed that my Christmas cactus does actually have a bloom on it, so that's exciting. I hadn't been fertilizing as much in the house simply because I don't like doing like mix-in fertilizers, and then I realized there's actually like the sticks that you can get to stick in your plant, and so they're a lot happier. And the fact that the Christmas cactus actually has a bloom is a really good sign. So I know it's late, technically it's an Easter Christmas cactus, but hey, I'll take it. I like Christmas cactus blooms. And my spider plant is already greener, which is awesome. So, because the other part of this is I always have to battle the cats. So the plants aren't necessarily in the best places for them, simply so they don't get completely destroyed by a marauding cat. So, you know. What else has happened this week? Oh, I did actually do some reading, or listening in this case. I finished The Reckless Bride by Stephanie Lawrence, which is the 4th book in the Black Cobra Quartet. I am knitting on my socks right now, so I might be a little bit slower and or looking down. But I did finish it, and it had a really interesting twist. I was actually, it's not something I even considered, so I was really happy with that. And then I read some steamy erotica, which if you want to know the title of, please message me. I don't really want to list it on the show. And I am in another steamy erotic book right now. Although if you have read anything by Maya Banks, you have a pretty good idea of what I'm in for. At least from what else I've read of hers. Let's see what else. And then on the non-erotica side, I am actually in, I got, or stumbled across, I was on Instagram and KnitLib. Susan actually was talking about Scribed, which is an unlimited paid for audiobook service. Now I do have Audible, but I do go through those books far too fast for how much I pay for it. So I think I might boot that subscription and just keep Scribed, because it's like $11.50 a month Canadian. And you get unlimited ebooks and audiobooks and all of this. Now, I still totally am going to use the library services because I want to support libraries, and I may not necessarily always want to pay for audiobooks. Also, physical books I still need to go to the library for. I'm not in a big like physical book mood or even physical reading mood right now. I'm definitely into the audiobooks. So I'm like, Scribed will be really good for audiobooks and any ebooks I want to read that I don't want to wait for. Especially with the show push, I find that like audiobooks are really good because I'm listening to something and keeps me concentrated on my actual work, and keeps me engaged with my work instead of being like, well, I want to go read though instead. So that's really nice. Now I do have to like be picky about what I actually read because they have to still be good narrators. Like I was listening to The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chosky, who I absolutely love as an author, but the narrators for me were terrible. So I'm going to actually pick that up as a physical book or as an ebook when it becomes available at the library and read it instead. So that's kind of the trade-off there. What am I listening to? Oh, I started listening more Stephanie Lawrence, Devil's Bride. So it's kind of it's other characters that were involved in the Black Cobra Quartet but weren't the main people. So I'm listening to that, and I did because it was one of the series I wanted to listen to. I do really like her writing in general. Yeah, so I'm enjoying that. Let's see what else. That's really it. Just work, and yeah, and then listening while I'm working, and then I also did the gaming, and really that is all I've done this week, besides hoping that my garden, maybe some of the stuff survived. Anyway, I hope you guys all have a fantastic week, and I will chat with you next week. Thanks so much, and have an awesome day. Bye.